Welcome to 3D Movie Cinema, the only show that's 3 dimensions away from Batman '89 being called Tim Burton's Batman. I'm your host 3D Jake, and today we're looking at Batman, released in 1989. Batman is directed by Tim Burton and is written by Sam Hamm and Warren Scarn from a story by Sam Hamm. The movie is based on the DC comic character by Bob Kane and Bill Finger, and the movie stars Jack Nicholson, Michael Keaton, Kim Basinger, Robert Wuhl, Pat Hingle, Billy Dee Williams, Michael Gough, and Jack Palance. The movie is essentially the first Batman movie, if you don't include Batman '89, the first theatrical Batman film that's not based on a TV or cartoon. And this is the first live action adaptation of the character. Yeah, we had Batman in the '66, the movie, but that was really a continuation of the series. This is the first actual Batman movie, like how Richard Donner's was the first Superman live action film. This is the first live action Batman movie. The movie, of course, stars Michael Keaton. And at the time this movie came out, Michael Keaton was a very controversial choice because there were letters, petitions sent to Warner Brothers. There was even news segments on the late night news talking about how Michael Keaton was a terrible choice to play Batman. And then, of course, he went on to blow everyone's expectations away as Batman. And then he even won an award for it. And he literally reprised his role, and everybody was disappointed when he didn't return for Batman Forever, and everyone was excited when he returned as Batman for The Flash. That shows you how much people love this movie. The movie is essentially about, basically Batman in like his second or third year at crime fighting, and then of course there are these gangsters, and then of course what happens is one of the gangsters, a guy named Jack Napier, he falls into it because of Batman. He gets set up by his mob boss. And then, of course, he falls into a vat of chemicals and becomes the Joker. And then Batman. And then, of course, he becomes crazy and takes over, gets rid of the mafia, and becomes crazy and starts basically trying to build his criminal empire as the Clown Prince of Crime. While Bruce Wayne is trying to balance his life between being Batman and trying to start a relationship with this reporter, Vicky Vale. And then, of course, the Joker comes into play, and then he has to kind of push away his relationship to stop the Joker. I am a big fan of this movie, okay? When this first came out, I was not alive when this movie came out. I was not alive in 1989. I was born in 95. So this movie, I had no choice, of this movie. And my parents had it on VHS, like a recording of this movie on VHS. And I, of course, was not a big fan of this movie when it came out, because I was a Batman and Robin guy as a kid, because this movie was too serious for me, while Batman and Robin was more my cup of tea. And then, of course, I liked Batman Forever, but then, I didn't like that as much as a kid because it was too serious for me. And then, of course, Batman and Robin was just right for me as a child. And that's why I didn't even appreciate Batman Begins, because it was too serious for me. And it wasn't until The Dark Knight where I really appreciated Batman Begins. And so my parents watched it, and I did go back and rewatch Batman Returns, really enjoyed Batman Returns. It wasn't really until, I think, 2013 or so is when I really started to love Batman and Batman Returns the most, because I just saw it as just such a beautiful, well-made film, and it did feel like this is Tim Burton's Batman. Batman '89 is more of a studio film, but with Tim Burton's name on it, but Tim Burton still loves, both those movies, even though he said he loves Returns more because let him do whatever the hell he wants. I really think, it comes down to as Jack Nicholson's Joker. I think the one thing I like about Jack Nicholson's Joker is he basically starts out as this guy, and I was worried, when you watch the movie first, you're worried because you're just like, oh, is Jack Nicholson gonna chew up the scenery? No, he doesn't. He actually, he starts out as a serious guy, and then once he falls in the vat of chemicals, he basically becomes Joker. And then he embodies the Joker. And until Heath Ledger, he was considered like the best live action Joker, which there's only really one other live action Joker, that's Cesar Romero. But still to this day, if you ask people, it's always a tie between him and Heath Ledger. You could say Mark Hamill is, but here's the thing with Mark Hamill. Mark Hamill is an animated voice, okay? Just like Kevin Conroy is an animated voice of Batman. So really, that a lot of people look at live action wise, I would say yes. Live action, it is between Jack Nicholson and Heath Ledger. And I will say this, I absolutely love what he did as the Joker in this movie, and I love his outfit and everything. And there is some stuff in this movie that's so wild, and there's some stuff that you're like, wow, they would not be able to do that today because of like certain things. Like there is some crazy stuff in the movie. Like one thing that just comes out of nowhere, Joker shows up, like Joker just shows up to Vicky Val's house, I guess just to give her flowers. Like he shows up with his goons and then just basically, and that's the whole scene where Bruce Wayne shows, like, he goes, I know who you are. Just walks out, and when he could have hid, he walks, and then of course he takes her thing, just underneath her. I thought they were going to kidnap her. Instead, they just show up there to give her flowers, and of course he goes, I know who you are. And then he's like, and then he takes the fire poker and smashes her thing and says, you want to get nuts? Come on. Which I don't understand why that's in the movie at all. I don't understand. That feels like a Michael Keaton ad-lib because like everyone in the movie looks like they're surprised. Like, what the hell's he doing? Like even Jack Nicholson's like, what the hell's he doing? Because it just feels like such an ad-lib in the movie. It doesn't really feel like, like it doesn't feel like it's in place in this movie, which there's some sequences. Like, for instance, there's a scene where Michael Keaton is upside down, when he's Bruce Wayne, he's sleeping like a bat. And I understand Tim Burton said when he was not a huge comic book fan as a kid growing up. He really was more into Vincent Price movies. He was not into the Batman comics and everything. He's never even claimed he never even read a comic book, even though his name is on, like, oh, I love this graphic novel for The Killing Joke. His name is on that. Tim Burton, director, Batman '89. Oh, I love this story. So I'm just like, so either you're a liar or you don't remember reading it. Yeah. But I really do like the story, though. The story does flow really well. My thing about this is there's a couple sequences that I just love in this movie. Like, I love the opening when you see the fake Bruce Wayne, the fake out, and it turns out, Batman's on the rooftop watching as they rob those people, and he jumps down and he knocks the one guy out. It's like, oh, he's a rumor. He's not even real. And then he shows up and they shoot him, and then he rises back up again, like fear, the tactic. And then he punches one guy down, and then the other guy grabs him and goes, I'm Batman. And I love that moment, and everything. And originally in the movie, he said, I'm Batman, motherfucker. But the studio's like, you cannot put that in the movie. It's a PG-13 film, and we would get an R rating just for him saying that. But other things in the movie can happen. Like, they can kill people on screen. Yeah, and of course, you can literally, there's like people die on screen, and people get murdered with fear gas and everything. And then on top of that, like there's a sequence in the movie where, like, the Joker, when Batman's killing all the men on the rooftop in the church, he literally, the woman, Vicky Vale, kisses the Joker, distracts him because she sees Batman approaching, and pretends to give the Joker a BJ just so she can distract the Joker, and then so Batman can come into the frame. And this Joker's like, yeah, and then she goes, excuse me, you ever dance with the devil in the Pale River? And then Batman punches him, which I'm like, in what world would that happen today? In what world would that make sense? Like, the girl's like, I'm going to pretend to blow the bad guy so the hero can show up. I'm like, and you could tell these are screenwriters that never read a comic book, because that never happens in the comic book. And I'm just like, in what world does that make sense? In what world? And I'm sure, which, by the way, Kim Basinger was not the first actress to be cast as Vicky Vale. Sean Young was cast originally, and she actually shot a few days before she broke her leg in a horse accident, and that was supposed to be in the movie. And then, of course, they, instead of, like, because they were already filming, they're like, we can't shut the film down, so they just replaced her with Kim Basinger, because because Kim Basinger was, it was an easy get because that was John Peters' ex-girlfriend, so he was like, hey, we could just swap them out. And it worked because, she does a fantastic job in the movie. And I really like that Vicky Vale in this movie. And she does a great job as Vicky Vale. And so much so to where, she's in, like, her, like, they even modeled, like, the models in the Prince song, Bat Dance after her. I do like the soundtrack from Danny Elfman. Like, I love hearing that Batman theme, that na na na. So much so they even use a rendition of Batman, of that, in the Batman the Animated Series, and this would inspire Batman the Animated Series. And I do like, I do like that, I think he does a great job. I also, as Bruce Wayne, Batman, Michael Keaton, I love like whenever they're at the fundraiser dance at Wayne Manor, and then like, he says, I'm not sure. She goes, which one's Bruce Wayne? He goes, I'm not sure. I love that, and I think that works really well, especially, he goes, oh, it's from Japan. She goes, how do you know? That's where I bought it. And he goes, oh, Bruce Wayne. I love that. And I also like how, like he does a lot of great stuff. And then I love at the end when I know some people are critical about the Joker killing his parents, but I feel like it makes sense in this movie, and I feel like it really makes sense. Like the Joker has a connection to Bruce because that's his ultimate greatest enemy is the Joker. So I like that the Joker has a connection to Batman's parents. In this movie, it works, and I think it really does because he's a gangster, and the gangster killed his parents. It makes a lot of sense. I do like though whenever like the Joker has like brand X, and everything, and I thought that was great, and I like how the Joker just wipes out the mafia by like killing the goons with like a handshake, and then just gunning the last couple down at like a city hall meeting. That works. And then of course, there's obviously the greatest scene is when Jack Nicholson Joker shows up at the museum and does the museum dance where they're playing the Prince song, Party Man. That is a great sequence, especially kills everybody and gasses them in there. And then he just tells Vicky Vale as a sign because he fancies her and says, ooh, put this on. And then he gasses everybody. And then they do it. And then they start destroying art by dancing a Prince. It's so great. And then, of course, the parade sequence where they're giving out Joker dollars. So I'm giving out money when it's really just Joker dollars. And then, of course, he's just gassing them too because he's going to kill them all. But then Batman shows up with the balloons and the whole church sequence is great, and everything. And apparently that wasn't even in the movie originally. Originally that was actually a reshoot because the church sequence, they said that was actually the end of it was the parade. But then of course the studio's like, oh, we got to have something more, so they added the church sequence in, and which it really works in this movie. And I think honestly, though, there's some people who criticize Batman murdering people in this movie because he goes to like Ace Chemicals and then just drops some bombs and then drives off and kills all Joker's goons in the movie to blow it up. And then of course, Batman's just going around gunning and killing people in the church. He's just like going around, just like takes one guy by the neck because this guy's just roughing him up, and he grabs him and drops him to his death. And then of course, obviously the biggest kill is the Joker at the end when he wraps the bat claw around him and then attaches to a gargoyle, and then the gargoyle pulls him down as the Joker's trying to escape, and then the Joker falls off of the helicopter rope and then falls to his death, which I think that is a cool death, and then everything, and then they just, that's a great death sequence. And my biggest critique is not that, because I think, honestly, killing Batman in this movie works, and honestly, Batman has killed in the comics before. He has killed in the comics. When Bob Kane first created him, he was killing, and it wasn't until the Doctor wrote a book about comics and violence that they created the comic book code, and then DC kind of revamped Batman to be, oh, I don't kill, that's my one rule, and Superman as well and stuff. And so heroes do kill sometimes, okay? Yes, I understand that, like, we're so used to in pop culture our heroes not killing because they're like, oh, he did value his life, so he would never kill. Well, in almost every movie, including the Robert Pattinson film, he has killed. I think there's like one or two movies he hasn't killed. Like I think like Batman and Robin's the only one I think he doesn't kill. Because even the Batman, in which I know people are like, well, where did he kill in the And well, in the Batman, okay, he indirectly kills a couple of people in that movie. While especially in the Nolan films, he indirectly kills a lot of people, or he flies away and lets them, indirectly die. So yeah, I mean, so Batman has killed in almost every freaking movie. So it's not that, well, I think in which my biggest issue is the love interest, Vicky Vale, where it feels like they just like, okay, they go on one date and then they start having sex, then they're a couple, and I'm like, that just feels like it's too early, and like it should build out some. And I guess because they removed some sequences from the movie, the horse riding sequence stuff, I guess they had to trim their character love up because something had to give, because of the runtime, because of the budget, and because of the horse riding incident. So I guess that was what gave this love. Oh, we got to shorten the love story a little bit. And so, but other than that, I think this movie is a well-made film, and I think it's an amazing movie. If I had to give this movie a grade, I'm going to give it a solid A-. Thank you so much.
Sharpton for president, y'all. I'm outie.
Jesse Jackson for VP.